Hello, hello, and welcome. Before we begin, I want to name what this episode is really about. If you have been feeling stretched thin or uncertain about the future, quietly worried about things you can't control, or you're just tired in a way that rest doesn't seem to fix, this conversation is for you. We are living in a time where uncertainty is constant. And when uncertainty becomes constant, the nervous system stays on alert. Today, we're going to talk about power, but not power as control, not power as force, not even power as dominance. We're going to talk about why presence is the only real power available to us in uncertain times. The intention here is for you to leave feeling a grounded understanding of why trying harder isn't working, and why more information isn't calming you, and why returning to presence restores something that nothing else can. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I'm Dawn Elgin, your host, the founder of Practical Spiritualism, the Aligned Human Project, as well as the co-creator of Field and Form, the 12 laws of co-creation that bridge science and spirit. Let's begin. As a whole, we are all in a moment culturally where economic certainty is real. Global instability is visible. Systems are crumbling, and our faith in them as well. Social polarization is high. Everything that is being pushed at us right now is us versus them. And the moment we go down that road, we begin the Great Divide. It's supposed to be we. It's supposed to be us. Period. And yet, fear has us coming closer and closer to separation. And fear always takes us outside of ourselves. It takes us outside of this present moment, and future forecasting begins. Information overload is constant. It feels like the world is a dysfunctional carnival with everyone yelling, look at me, or look at them. None of it is bringing us closer to our natural state. None of it's calming our nervous system. None of it is giving us a sense of safety, of security. None of it is bringing us closer to love. The future feels harder to predict. And when predictability collapses, the nervous system seeks control. So people try to have more productivity, more planning, more consuming information, more self-improvement. But control is not the same as power. Control is an attempt to manage an outcome. Power is the capacity to remain present inside of them. This distinction is incredibly important. Control says, if I manage enough variables, I will feel safe. Whereas presence says, safety begins inside of my nervous system. The illusion that is collapsing right now is the belief that external stability guarantees internal safety. And the truth is, it never did. For years, I would have told you I was doing the work. I meditated multiple times a day. I was journaling. I understood all of the concepts. I knew them. And my coaches, my spiritual director would always say to me, you know it up here, Dawn, but you need to embody it. You need to bring it down here. And I did not understand what they were talking about. It is such a difficult concept for most of us who've been raised in the world of intellectual to understand. How do I take all of these ideas, these understandings, these things that we have learned, and start to embody it? How do we bring it from our head and get it into our heart? Well, it's actually not as hard as it seems. Today, that's exactly where we're going to go. Because the truth is, if we don't take it from up here and get it down here, then no matter how much we meditate, we journal, and we understand these concepts, no matter how much personal and spiritual development work we do, we will continue to feel anxious. We will continue to feel reactive, fatigued, unsettled. And it doesn't have to be this way. Truth is, understanding is not embodiment, and effort is not regulation. When the nervous system is dysregulated, thinking harder doesn't help, and spiritual concepts just don't land, and our willpower collapses. Presence stabilizes the field. When the field stabilizes, form responds. But if the field is dysregulated and we try to force the form, we create friction. And friction feels like burnout. This is why hustle fails, control exhausts, and urgency backfires. Because urgency is unregulated energy, pretending to be disciplined. So we'll back it up for a second. If you are new to my work, what is the field and what is the form? Because I refer to them all the time. So first, there is field that is outside of ourselves, which would be the quantum field. You might think of it as the divine matrix, as a holographic field. You might think of it as space. It is the space that is all around us. It is the space that is between objects. It is the space that is between planets. It is space. And that field is really a field of energy, of consciousness. It is alive, it is a frequency, and it is constant. Then there is our internal field. And our internal field is made up of our thoughts, of our emotions, energy in motion, and our feelings. And these things make up our personal electromagnetic field. And it is our personal field that interacts with the universal field, which is how we co-create. And we are in a constant state of creation. This is law number 1 in my work. And so when we understand that, we start to understand that every thought matters. Emotions count. And we can't ignore our feelings or override them. We can't force them. But what we can do is start getting present. And when we get present, we start coming into our power, which is the third law, the law of power. Presence equals power. So this is vital. The frequency that you have inside of you is constantly in communication and creating with the energy, the field, the frequency all around of you. That's how it works. Energy is just interacting, and it's not personal. So therefore, when we don't like what we are seeing around us, when we see anger and fear and rage, what we are seeing in our outer world is a perpetuation of what's in our inner field. And so if we want to change what is happening around us, we need to change what is happening within us. That is where true power lies. You see, presence isn't passive. Presence is not zoning out. And presence is not suppressing fear. Presence does 3 things. 1, it stabilizes our nervous system. When you are present, you are not projecting into imagined futures. You're here. And here is always more manageable than imagined catastrophes. 2, it restores awareness. And awareness gives you the space between stimulus and response. And without that space, you react. And with that space, you choose, you respond. And then 3, it returns choice. And choice, well, choice is power, not control, choice. Power is not controlling what happens. Power is choosing how to meet what happens. This is law 3 fully embodied. Presence moves to awareness. Awareness gives us choice, and choice is our power. And then we just repeat the rhythm. Presence gives us awareness. We can choose or respond, and that's where all of our power lays. Repeat the rhythm over and over again. And if we lose it, if we come into a moment of being what they would call unconscious, which really means that we're in habitual consciousness, which is why they term it as being asleep, because you're not in control of the wheel, you're on autopilot. And when we find ourselves that way, and we will, almost all of us, I'll say almost, because I'm sure there are some enlightened people out there. But for the rest of us that are moving our way through this journey, coming back to ourself, it is first a job of unlearning all of the limiting beliefs about what and who we are, about what we are capable of. It's about unlearning all of the things that take us further away from love, from connection, from unity. And once we unlearn those things, we can start to remember our truth. It's a bit like an onion. It's layered. We learn a little, we remember a little. We learn some more, we remember some more. And on it goes. And it's a commitment. It's a journey. We're given the first 20-ish years of our life to play, to explore, to make mistakes. And all of that's good. There's no big white dude with a beard out there in the sky judging us. It doesn't work like that. We're the ones judging us. And so once we start becoming aware of this, it's our job for the rest of our life to unlearn and remember, unlearn and remember. Practice, rinse, repeat. And then once we do that, we also help other people do it as well. And that's how we start making a more conscious world. So, presence brings us to awareness, brings us to choice, brings us to power. And I'm not talking about that weak power, the kind that is limited, that burns out. I'm talking about the unlimited power that is your true nature, the kind that is eternal. So with that, what does presence look like in this chaotic world? Well, presence looks like pausing before reacting in a conversation. And that includes fully listening. What I mean by that is not thinking about your response or what they're saying and how it makes you feel. It means being completely present in that conversation and breathing and staying anchored in your body. And then before you react, you take that breath and then you respond. In the conversation, it becomes two ways. Presence means not doom scrolling when you're already dysregulated. And I'm going to take that one step further. If you find yourself on your feeds, whether that is YouTube, whether that is Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it does not matter. If you find yourself on your feed and you are feeling more anxious, more depressed, more frustrated, I want you to stop and check in. Is it what you are watching in terms of do you have things coming on your feed that are creating that dysregulation? In other words, are they pumping more fear, more anger, more us versus them mentality? And if they are, it is our radical self-responsibility to clean our feed. It is imperative that we take a look at our life and create some energetic hygiene in it. This means honoring and respecting your energy, which means if you are filled with that sort of stuff, it's time to clean it up. Now, if the other option is you are on your feed and you come into a place of comparison, whether that is you comparing yourself to others and their journey and coming up short or feeling better than them. At that moment, it's time for us to take a pause. Because when we are comparing and judging, what starts to happen is, again, it becomes us versus them. And it's not for us to beat ourselves up. We've been trained to compare ourselves since we were little kids. Competition is deeply ingrained within us, within school systems, within any sort of sports. So there's always who's the best, who's the worst, where do I fall in that? Grading systems. All of it creates competition, and all of that creates separation. And you can argue for it or against it. It's your journey. But at the end of the day, our job is to get closer to love, back to ourselves, back to remembering. Stuff's not actually relevant. So when we catch that, can we find the commonality? This would be when in Buddhism, we work with the practice of I'm just like them, or they're just like me. And so we start to find purposely the connection between us instead of the separation. It's a hard practice, but is one that is incredibly worthy of our time and will help us get even more present and contain more of our own power. Now, for emotions, presence is feeling anxiety in your body without narrating it into catastrophe. So, what do I mean by that? To feel our emotions means to allow ourselves to experience a feeling. Now, you might notice the emotion first. I'm angry. And then my question would be like, awesome. What does it taste like? What color is it? Does it have a temperature, a texture? Where do you feel it in your body? Or you might start with the feeling first, where you notice a sensation in your body, your upper abdomen or your heart, your chest, your shoulders, wherever. And then you start going into it. What is that feeling? Does it have a temperature? Does it have a texture? Does it have a taste, a smell? And then you might start to notice, and all of a sudden a word will come up or an awareness. Oh, that is anger. Or that is fear. We just stay with it. We just stay with it and we breathe into it. Can we slow our breath down? What happens to the feeling, the experience that you're having when you start to slow your breath? What happens when you bring all of your awareness to it and breathe into it? What does it change into? Because energy is always in motion. It doesn't stay static, it doesn't ever stay the same. So what will it change into? And with that, presence is also choosing one aligned action instead of spiraling. So instead of spiraling into the emotions, into the feelings, into the external experiences, presence lets us start to go, what is aligned with who I choose to be? What is aligned with my values? Or its aligned action can be staying completely present with that emotion. That to me is the act of courage, to stay present in discomfort. Instead of running, can we sit? Can we stay? Presence does not require the world to calm down. It requires each of us to come home. You don't need certainty to feel powerful. You need presence. Certainty is external. Presence is internal. Certainty is fragile. Presence is renewable. When one person returns to presence, the entire field shifts. Regulation is contagious. So is dysregulation. So the question is, which one do you want to contribute to? So with that, I want to leave you with a practice because it's all good in theory, but can we practice this and create some sort of a little ritual or routine that will help us bring this into our life every single day? So here's your practice. First, I want you to start by feeling your feet on the floor. If you're sitting up, your feet are up, maybe it's feeling your buttocks in the chair that you're sitting on. Whatever it is, just feel that connection. And then I want you to notice your breath. Now you can do this with your eyes open, or if you want to take this a little deeper, if you struggle because of that external environment, we can always close our eyes and come to an internal experience. So just notice your breath. Is it shallow? Is it up in your shoulders? Is it in your upper quadrants of your lungs, in your chest? Is it in your belly? And if it isn't, can you soften your thighs, soften your hips, Maybe draw your chin in a little. That'll just give you that feeling of protecting your throat. It's all subconscious. Can you soften the pelvic floor, your buttocks, to let that breath drop in just a little deeper? And just feel that breath. Let it slow. And as you settle into your own body, into your own breath, I want you to just let one worry surface. Just allow it. And that might take a few moments. If you're not having one come up, it's totally okay. Just pause this video and give yourself a moment to allow the worry to surface. I'm just going to stay present with that worry for one full breath. I'm not pushing it away. It's not wrong. It's not right. It just is what it is. Just a worry. Just a concern. And just stay present with it for one full breath. And notice what didn't happen. The world didn't collapse. You didn't dissolve. The fear moved. That is power. Not dramatic power, steady power. Just breathe that. You are so much more powerful than you believe. So much more powerful than we understand. So how do we integrate that? Well, questions. Where are you trying to control what cannot be controlled? Politics, governments. Where are you exhausting yourself chasing certainty? Jobs, family, friends. And what would shift if you chose presence instead? Remember, alignment isn't about eliminating uncertainty. It's about stabilizing yourself inside it. The more stable you become, the more capable you become of leading, loving, creating, and responding with clarity. It's like being the eye of the storm. If this work resonates, this is the foundation of everything we do inside of Align Your Life. Learning how to regulate the nervous system, align the field, and take action from presence instead of from pressure. I also offer private sessions and longer journeys for those who are ready to build this capacity deeply and sustainably. Links are below if you feel called. No pressure, just an invitation. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and follow so that we can create a global movement of aligned humans together. Remember, alignment is not something you achieve. It's something that you return to. You are the field, and you shape the form.